To chair the panel on the power of industry, energy's role in economic statecraft, please welcome President and Chief Executive Officer, United States Energy Association, the Honorable Mark Menezes.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this morning's panel, where we're going to focus on the power of industry, energy's role in the economic statecraft. I am Mark Menezes. I'm President and CEO of the United States Energy Association. We're a not-for-profit over 100 years old. We have been dedicated to providing access to affordable, reliable energy, both domestically and internationally. Working with these partners and others, working with the U.S. government. If you'd like to learn more about us, go to usea.org. Now, already much has been said about why we're having this. I want to thank the Atlantic Council having this policy discussion. It's very timely, and they have really brought together quite a group of seasoned professionals and policymakers to really explain the issues of the day. We know what the issues are. Energy has really become such a dominant player, both domestically and globally, as a necessary need for all nations for economic prosperity, and as we're learning more and more now, for national and global security. So let's just get right in it. Let me introduce our panelists this morning. Anatol Feygin. Anatol is the Executive Vice President and Chief Commercial Officer of Cheniere. Has served over 10 years at Cheniere. Prior to that, he was with Bank of America and J.P. Morgan, so he brings both financial background and energy expertise to the panel. Welcome, Anatol. Andrew Herskowitz. Andrew is Chief Executive Officer of Mission 300, Accelerator RF Catalytic Capital. It's a offshoot of the Rockefeller Foundation. Andy served over 20 years as a U.S. diplomat, a senior foreign service officer, and importantly and significantly, first chief development officer at the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation, today's DFC. Welcome, Andy. Brittany Kelm. She serves as a senior policy advisor to the White House's National Energy Dominance Council. And before joining the White House, she worked at Shell, and prior to that, she worked for the U.S. refiner Valero. Welcome, Brittany. The Honorable Roger Martella, Chief Corporate Officer of GE Vernova. Roger has been with GE now for almost 10 years, and Roger served as general counsel to the U.S. EPA, and prior to that, he was partner at Sidley and Austin, heading up their environmental and climate change practices. And finally, we have Tim Perry. Tim is vice chairman of RBC Capital Markets with almost 24 years experience there. Tim, before that, he was with Credit Suisse. And so he too brings quite a bit of knowledge about the finance and the private industries. And so welcome, everyone. Welcome the panelists. Now, let's just jump right into it. Brittany, I want to start with you because, we're in Washington. Everybody wants to know, what this administration is doing. You have now been senior advisor for, I guess it's about 18 months we're into this, right? And so we know that the Dominance Council has been about trying to improve permits, trying to figure out which levers of government to pull. You've now been in the interagency process, I think, a time or two, so you've got that. Why don't you tell us, what have you learned? What can the government use, what levers can it use to help us accomplish the increase in production and infrastructure domestically, but also internationally?
Well, you nailed it. So at this juncture of 18 months, you have really seen President Trump, he likes to see ribbon cuttings. He's like, I don't want a groundbreaking, I want a ribbon cutting. And so in order to do that, it was go at Trump's speed and be able to get these energy projects off the ground and running. And so right off the back, we did that with cutting. You saw a lot of regulatory tape cut that needed to be removed, but some of that too, but with my friends on this stage, like you had the LNG export ban, some of those things that were the obvious essentials that we needed to reverse, but all of this was to promote and give private sector investment certainty. And so we were able to do that, I would say, I don't want to say relatively quickly, but we moved very fast in doing domestic red tape cutting, and so you saw procedures that we did at DOI and some of the agencies with expedited permitting, and then of course reversal of that LNG pause, and then you were able to see the markets just follow suit with that, and then that has obviously gone internationally, and so that's what we really wanted to do. The NEDC, being the National Energy Dominance Council, we of course had already established energy independence domestically, and so Trump really wanted us to bring that on the global scale, because if you can supply that energy to your allies, that was true energy dominance, and so that's what we've done too. So obviously we have market levers for that are providing that investment certainty, and so we were going to show everyone we have your back, and so that is by doing those deregulatory efforts, cutting that red tape, allowing permitting processes to be expedited, and then provide all of the needed essentials to move that for exports, and then get our US companies the ability to invest more internationally. And so that's what we've really been doing, and of course we can go into the other levers of which you can do that with DFC and other resources in our tool belt. But that's the bulk of what our agenda has been thus far, and you saw last year more of that policy lever pulls, and then now you're seeing the implementation, and of course I'll get into later what you're seeing with Venezuela, but we have some great examples and where my friends on the stage are able to really put their resources and invest.
Thank you. Anatol, let me turn to you, because Cheniere was one of the first movers, had the vision to look to export LNG back when public policy was looking to make sure we could have enough natural gas at home. Cheniere's in a dominant position now there. You're developing additional. Tell me, how do you see Cheniere and the US LNG export sort of as energy as statecraft? I mean, it's very real. You've got US
Sure.
facilities, but how do you see Cheniere playing a role in US LNG exports?
Thanks, Mark. It's my honor to be here. It's a pleasure to once again be on the stage. Thanks to Land and Atlantic Council, and thanks to you for moderating this. We're very fortunate to have seen this wave of natural gas production and resource availability, partially out of necessity. We were 20 years ago, we were a failed import project, and saw this as an opportunity to really salvage Cheniere and turn things around. As you mentioned, first mover, we started construction at our Louisiana facility in August of 12, and became and are today the largest US LNG exporter. We've been saying for a number of years that we're the second largest operator of LNG facilities in the world. Unfortunately, these days we're the largest. Hopefully that changes soon. And fortunately, the business model that Cheniere pioneered and brought to the LNG industry, which was already about 50 years old at the time when we started, a decade ago, a model that had complete destination flexibility. So even though the vast majority, 95% plus of our capacity, is committed to our long-term customers, those long-term customers respond to market signals, and the market signals that make the possibility of alleviating these energy shortages. Of course, the first such extreme example was the Ukraine war, started in February 22, and now we find ourselves with the second major comparable disruption of the Strait of Hormuz, and the ability to respond to that. Brittany already mentioned the current administration, Secretary Wright, Secretary Burgum, have been very instrumental in supporting the industry. One of the key things for us, we've invested $50 billion, thanks to Tim and others, in our projects. We're well underway to investing another $10 billion or so into further expansions. the durability of what the administration is doing is absolutely critical for us, and both Secretaries Wright and Burgum have been instrumental in creating that framework that we think will transcend decades, much less administration. So it's a great tool that the U.S. has, and all we can do at Cheniere is continue to operate reliably. We've never missed a foundation customer cargo. We will deliver cargo number 5,000 in a couple months, and we're on our way to 10 and 20,000, and I look forward to supporting economies and creating a flexible energy system that responds to shocks.
Thank you. Andy, your Mission 300 Accelerator, you're focusing on Africa. Your organization really is trying to address the problem that you hear almost everybody say when they get up on an energy panel and say, we need to address the most immediate pressing needs of our time. One of them is that we have hundreds of millions of people still without electricity. Your organization has already brought electricity in Africa to more than 44 million. With your current efforts and with your background at DFC and the State Department before, why don't you tell this audience of CEOs and policymakers why what your organization doing is important and its significance?
Yeah. Well, obviously it's important because you have 600 million people in Africa who just don't have a light bulb, right? And so that's just a basic level. Energy drives everything. It drives the growth that's needed for every single job. Africa is going to have 1 out of every 4 humans on the planet are going to be living in Africa by 2050. By the end of the century, you're going to have 13 of the 20 largest cities in the world in Africa. We're talking about metropolitan areas with over 100 million people. So the opportunity is huge. Even, I was noticing yesterday, Atlantic Council, which talks about the Atlantic, there are 23 countries in Africa that border the Atlantic Ocean. And we're not really focusing on that much here. This is why we're focused on it. It's the top priority for the World Bank and for the Africa Development Bank. But it's also a massive opportunity for U.S. companies. I think back to when I ran Power Africa and visited a gas-fired power plant in Ghana. And the developer wasn't a U.S. company, but the first slide they put up on the screen was showing me 80 U.S. companies that were involved in that project, whether it was selling lubricants or providing legal services or insurance. So the opportunity is absolutely massive. This is the last major growth market on the planet. And I listened to the CEOs of Baker Hughes and the CFO of Chevron yesterday, and they both talked about how they take a 15-year look on investment. And if we're asleep right now, we're going to miss the opportunities. And it's not just China, it's Turkey, it's the Middle East, it's France, it's Italy. So it's very easy to have this rhetoric about China. But to give you an example, I visited Tanzania, where the U.S. kind of pulled out of there a few years ago in the energy space, and said, oh, they're going to be done. And then I went back about 5 years later, and I looked around me, and I look at all these buildings and power projects, and I'm like, who built them? Yeah, there were some Chinese projects, mostly Middle East and Turkey. So it can't just be U.S. versus China. The U.S. is losing, okay? We're losing. We talk about winning, but in Africa, we're losing, and we're not focusing on it. But it's so easy for us to win, and we can talk a little bit about how we can do that.
Okay, thank you. Tim, let me turn to you.
Sure.
You have heard the comments of Andy here, the importance, obviously, of financing what the World Bank is doing. You've heard Anatol talk about financing these key projects to ensure that the U.S. can continue to export. What, from your point of view, with the changes, with the world events, certainly today, but even going back to Ukraine, to Russia's invasion of the Ukraine, right? How do you see the role of your financial institutions now supporting energy as statecraft?
Yeah, well, in terms of financial institutions in RBC, we're one of the larger lenders to the energy sector, and we're incredibly supportive of it. It's been an amazing industry, I think, as many people know. I mean, just going kind of back, all the way back to the shale boom. Some of this was discussed yesterday, but just to touch on it, we were right around, if you will, the turn of the century, 2000, 2002, on the oil side, producing in the U.S. about 6 million barrels a day. And then really, due to innovation of the U.S., many independents, as well as in Canada, et cetera, we really developed the shale revolution. And what happened in the shale revolution on the oil side We went from 6 million barrels a day to today, we're right around producing, call it 13.6 to 13.8 million barrels a day. That rise from 6 to well over 13. And you kind of sit here and think about if we weren't producing 13 million plus barrels a day, and given what's happened into the Iran war, where would we be right now? And I think you'd see oil prices much, much higher. On the gas side, similarly, we have, and we're the largest, oil producer in the world now. Likewise, on gas, we're the largest gas producer in the world. And Anatol, to compliment you and Cheniere, what you've done, we've really taken this from a country where we really, at one time, really had to import gas to now becoming this great LNG exporter and using that. On financing, we can discuss it. I think you've seen the bank market to be very supportive, as well as the capital markets, but we'll get into it. As important as this industry is, it really doesn't occupy that much of Wall Street in a way. The energy as a percent of the market capitalization of the S&P 500 is less than 4%, and people find that incredibly surprising. We can spend some more time on that, but.
Thank you, Tim. Roger, GE Vernova, you guys have really been key in addressing the speed to power. You all are building as much as you can, probably as fast as you can, domestically. Let's talk about what GE sees domestically and internationally, also as a way that you can bring power, to help with energy serving as a tool of statecraft.
Sure. Well, thank you. And so GE Vernova, we're a company that helps produce 25% of the world's electricity, about a third if you don't include China. And we're in more than 100 countries. And when you talk about statecraft, I've never seen a time in my career where partnership with the government has ever been as critical as it is right now. So we're always working with our customers for their success, but I can't think of an example of anything we're doing as a company where we're not closely partnering with the administration, with the European Union, with countries all around the world to make sure that whatever we're doing has a strategic advantage both for our customers and for other countries, strategic relationships between the United States and other places. So statecraft is front and center in everything we're doing. And maybe I could just share one example, because I think an example is probably better than speaking at a high level. If you think about the deployment of nuclear technology, you talked about speed to power. About a year ago, the administration, the Energy Dominance Council and the White House released some executive orders on nuclear technology that I believe have now accelerated the deployment of small modular reactors by 5 years. It's been that much of a game changer. And so we're in a privileged position of building the first small modular reactor here in North America. And we've always known that there would be more to come. But we wanted to be very strategic in terms of how do you do that. So when President Trump went to Japan earlier in the fall, he worked on an agreement with the Prime Minister where they agreed to make an investment in small modular reactors here in the United States. It helped address the trade issue between the US and Japan, but it also helped investment here in Japan. So they were here a couple months ago, and they announced specifically a $40 billion investment to fund 10 SMRs here in Tennessee and Alabama. So that sounds like a US issue, but if you really break it down to statecraft, what has happened is, as a result of this, they have accelerated SMR deployment by, I would argue, 5 years for the US, which is good for the US. US becomes this clear leader in nuclear technology. But they've also helped Japan not only with tariffs, but Japan's actually super excited about this deal because it's now a nuclear superpower as well. Much of their supply chain will feed these SMRs. And so there's this opportunity where they're just as excited as the US is to be building these reactors here in the US because of the opportunities for them to now lead a global supply chain in nuclear. But we're not going to stop there. Where do we go next? We're looking at Europe and having close partnerships with Europe to take this technology in coordination with our friends in the US to how does Europe get to catch up too and be on a level playing field with the US taking these developments. So that's kind of statecraft at its essence. That's just one of our technologies. It's kind of three-dimensional chess across all these ways. But all of that's serving not only our customers, it's serving countries, it's serving relationships, it's creating stronger. I think I hear the comments on Africa, and I see how do we solve for that, because I think we are solving it through a lot of these opportunities to deploy electricity technology in ways that supports these relationships with allies.
Yeah, thank you. Brittany, along the same lines, so where you sit, you see, you have domestic policy, you have international policies, you have different technologies that are coming to you, different projects. I'm sure you hear from probably as many different representatives from foreign countries to try to figure out what your role is to ensure that there's always a domestic supply or the domestic policies in place. Tell me, how do you see your role as helping to facilitate these projects that can help in the international area? And tell me, what's your sense when people come and talk to you from all over the U.S., all over the world? Do you feel like the U.S. is sort of, winning or losing? It seems to be a theme here that Andy brought up. He says we're losing in Africa.
We could be winning. I'm overstating that we're losing, but we definitely could be winning, and I'll talk about that.
I was going to say, I was like, well, from my perspective, and but truly, I wake up every day, and I say this all the time. I'm like, I have the best job in the world, but you literally just described why, because I get to sit in this position where I obviously get to serve my country and my stakeholders, like a lot of you from industry in this room, and I came from industry, so it's been an honor to get to do that. But then getting to bring that internationally has been so eye-opening and the biggest privilege, but also I get to see the US as a powerhouse. A lot of what Roger just mentioned, we're able to bring these technologies across the world and truly help our friends and allies, and we have them. We have them, and back to the energy dominance thing, we can supply those to our allies, and I think that's just an incredible thing. We don't have to just hold it all domestically. And so I get to see that on a day in and out, where not only do I have a lot of you in this room coming in to share with me a lot about, of course, I like to help you if you ever have a permitting hurdle or need something with OFAC, anything like that, we are open door and love to help you with those. But then beyond that, getting to pair where there's an international need, it has been, that's one of the most fun pieces of my job, where international companies come in and it's okay, you are ready for this SMR technology, or even we love supporting our incumbents in other countries as well. So with international players, some of you are the big ones helping us achieve our energy dominance goals. But so getting to play, bridge back and forth, who needs what technology, and we always get to say oh, we have a US company or we have a partner to help you with that. And there's never been a case where, oh, blank country needs blank this capacity, this LNG, where I can pick up the phone and ask Cheniere or whomever, can you help blank country in Europe? And so that's just been so eye-opening. It's always, yes, the US can provide these resources, the US has this technology, the US has the companies, and then likewise, we have that relationship with the international companies. And so it's been a really great partnership, and it just keeps continuing, and it's never running out of capacity, and it's been great sitting at the NEDC, where we get to be more project focused and rely on the agencies to help us solve for X, Y, and Z. It's been a very unique but very successful council in that regard.
Good. Yes, Andy.
So can I jump in and
Yes.
tell people how we can be, I shouldn't say winning, how we can be totally dominant and knocking it out of the park?
Let's see. Let's hear it.
So the most powerful tool the U.S. government has is the Development Finance Corporation. And in my time between when I left the DFC and joined Rockefeller, I spent a year running a think tank, and we went deep on the Belt and Road Initiative in China. We wanted to see what are they doing? Why does it work? China's got this bank called Sinosure, which has a $1 trillion portfolio, which all the Chinese companies, much to the chagrin of Sinosure apparently, but they were told by the central government that you had to do this, were giving very low financing and risk insurance to the Chinese investments overseas. $1 trillion portfolio with a return of about $100 million. Okay, it's very small. The difference is the DFC is the only development finance institution in the world that is actually not required to earn a return. The US could put its thumb on the scale as much as it wanted to try to bring down interest rates, be really aggressive on taking junior positions on investments, provide all kinds of insurance and all of these things, but it chooses to not do it, and I think a lot of people, probably even in the administration, aren't aware of that. So whether it's for advancing foreign policy development or whatever you want, the DFC is extremely powerful. But a lot of the people who go there and work,
they embrace this idea of we're going to make a lot of money for the US taxpayer and advance foreign policy. And I'm telling you as a US taxpayer, I don't really want to make a lot of money for the US taxpayer through a US government institution. I want that institution to advance my foreign policy and development goals and like really flex its muscles so that US companies and others can really get in there and counter China. Imagine what we could do. $1 billion is not a lot of money to the US government. Even if we were to structure a portfolio where like on a $100 billion portfolio, you lost $1 billion, big deal. Who cares? It's a drop in the bucket, but you could absolutely crush the competition all over the world.
Oh, well, thank you, Andy, for those insights. Anatol, no, I mean it. I told Andy I really want to hear from his experience because Andy has really sat in many chairs, so he brings a lot of experience to this. So, Anatol, I'm going to ask you, and then I'm going to turn to Roger and Tim to comment on this question. So we have seen U.S. energy companies generally, particularly in the energy space, benefit, if you will, or be highly sought after when Russia invaded the Ukraine. Europe came, US LNG projects reached FID that might have been languishing. Now we see with the increased need for power due to all the data centers, generally LNG, natural gas, can certainly build quickly compared to other types of fuels. And now with the restrictions on the Strait of Hormuz, it also appears that this is kind of going to be a golden age for U.S. companies because the world that long has been dependent on resources flowing from the Strait of Hormuz, business may no longer continue that way. Tell me, from the LNG export facility, how do you assess these situations? And can we expect to see more contracts being signed, with Asia, maybe with other countries that currently is paying a premium for the Strait of Hormuz exports?
Thanks, Mark. There's a lot in there. I'll maybe start kind of in reverse order to build a little bit on what Andy said. We exist today with this business model. We have 36 customers. That's it. Multi-billion-dollar contracts there for, on average, about 20 years. Our average remaining life today is 17 years. And we build new facilities once we commercialize them and have those long-term contracts. Average credit rating for our counterparties is A-. Those guys come to the US Gulf Coast and lift a molecule of natural gas as LNG for about $6 on board in a world that is today $18 to $20. So the solution for an investment-grade counterparty, to me, is very simple. You already pointed out that after the disruption in the war in Ukraine, prior to February of 22, the world thought about LNG as being sourced from 3 major areas. That was Qatar, Arctic Russia, and US Gulf. In February of 22, Arctic Russia was off limits. Everyone came to the US. At that point, US was going to already be the largest, became the largest in 23. That was a big period for growth. And then obviously with this current disruption, US is on its way operating, already the largest. That number will double. And in the early 30s, US LNG will be about half of the global LNG market. So the only headwind is that we are no longer, as we were in February of 22, a diversifying function for a buyer, right? The world will be majority dependent on US LNG. To build on Andy's comments, I'm perplexed. I think I struggle to think of a energy forecaster that shows anything other than Asia being the driver of future energy demand. And I struggle to come up with a demographic forecaster that shows anything other than Africa driving the demographic growth. And I don't understand how those two can be reconciled because the energy poverty that exists in Africa today can't support another 2 billion people, right? We've got to find a solution to that. Building on your comments, investment-grade counterparties, easy answer, buy more from Cheniere and those like us. Non-investment grade energy poverty areas, I think this is an ideal situation where the DFC can support that. In our case, we've exported for a decade we don't have a penny of bad debt expense. Now, part of that is credit quality, but part of that is that LNG is such a critical component to energy security and keeping the lights on. And I put to you that whether you make a return or not at the DFC, your risk and your loss provisions will be minimal. So
I think if you structured a portfolio where you're willing to take a lot more risk, you're still going to make a return. I can tell you, I did loan guarantee deals in Haiti right after a coup, and everyone thought I was insane. Never lost money on any investment that we did. Everyone just gets so freaked out about it, but the markets know how things work. You just have to be willing to do it. Like I've got a really good record on deals in some of the most difficult places and companies. It just, people are scared.
So, more opportunities for US LNG. We are already the 800-pound gorilla, and we have the opportunity to continue to export this incredible resource that we have developed over the last 15 years.
Let me turn to Roger and then Tim. Listening to Anton and Anatol, and what is your reaction to this? Do you likewise see opportunities with GE, Vernova?
We see the opportunities. To us, it's a little broader, as we're in the electrification space, making equipment for electrification, and I think the world is looking to use. The world needs more energy for all the reasons we were talking about, and it needs a greater percentage of that energy from electricity. And to us, it's a little less about the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is part of something we've seen going back to Ukraine and what you talked about with Ukraine, which is going back 4 years now, the world has really put energy security as the primary driver. Europe certainly did. That was a big wake-up call. It was a wake-up call for all of us about we could no longer take the grid for granted. So what we're seeing is really a super cycle all around the world. I think the President Trump's agenda very much picks up on it. He uses different words perhaps, but everybody uses different words all around the world. But what we're seeing is a super cycle of investment in electrification infrastructure that we haven't seen probably since World War II. Whether it's Ukraine, whether it's cyber risks, whether it's drone attacks on the grid, as we've seen physical attacks, concerns about weather risks, the increasing complexity from the variability of renewables and just more demand than the grid was kind of built for. That's where we're seeing this global cause for investment. Some parts of the world will look at the Strait of Hormuz and say that's a reason to invest, but we've frankly been seeing these trends now going back for years, and there's going to be other things happening all around the world. Brittany mentioned Venezuela, for example. One of the areas that's been really important to us is we are seeing for the first time opportunities to serve people beyond Africa that have been underserved. So if you look at Iraq, if you look at Ukraine, if you look at Syria, if you look at Venezuela, this is creating opportunities for us to, in partnership with the administration, bring access to electricity for people who have been underserved and hopefully bring prosperity to them. So all of this, the world is complicated, but we see this as really opportunity. We're excited about it. It's hard, but we love doing really hard things. And we certainly see the progress and the momentum and the avenue towards success on all these topics.
Thank you. Tim.
Sure. Well, maybe I'll just follow up a little bit on what Anatol said and just talk a little bit more about LNG and maybe heighten a couple of things that he really talked about, and that is that gas, if you buy it outside the U.S., it's generally, he said, $18, at least $15 anyway, mid-teens or even beyond. Here in the U.S. right now, that same molecule is basically $3. Some people feel it may go up to $4, but the point is there's a huge difference between what as a U.S. consumer you pay and what you pay in other areas of the world. This is an incredible dividend for the United States. It's B, also a great opportunity, and we talk about the reindustrialization of America. Well, natural gas is really the key power driver. Nuclear is growing very quickly. And with that going on as a clean source of power, and we know what's going on with respect to data centers and so on and so forth, this is the great opportunity for us. Fortunately, we're lucky here in the U.S. is that we do have an incredible source of natural gas. So it's really doing two great things for us. One, it's allowing us to heat our homes, power data centers cheaply, effectively reindustrialize the U.S., and then two, really built, and to complement Cheniere, this incredible LNG business, which really won much of a business 2 decades ago. And now, as you said, we're really going to be the leading, and already are, leading LNG exporter in the world. And then that obviously, in terms of statecraft, going back to that word, that equates, not only does it save money for consumers around the world, it also creates a closer relationship between the U.S. and whatever country. I think everyone knows if we went back pre-Ukraine, most of Europe got its gas from Russia, not from the U.S., and those flows are completely changing for the benefit of us and obviously the detriment of Russia, which is obviously playing very much to our advantage.
Thank you. So I'm mindful of our time. Since we're in Washington, everyone typically wants to know what are your views on what policies might need to be changed, or said another way, what can the administration do, or what can Congress do? On the earlier panel, we heard from senators and members of Congress. They were excited about, I think, the Dominance Act, which seeks to, I think, recreate an office at State Department. But what else? Brittany, let me start with you, since I know the administration typically believes it has all the authority. It needs to do some of the things. But looking at Congress, what could be helpful for you in this administration?
Of course, President Trump, we're going to keep delivering on baseload power produced, and of course, in this context, talking about production of that domestically. And I'm sure you heard the term many times, permitting reform mentioned. And so, of course, with all of the actions we've been taking and that we took in the last 18 months, we were able to make a lot of headway. And so I think right now it's just looking at what can you do to make things more durable and for durability. And so that's everything we are looking at right now. And of course, we have our allies, our friends in Congress who are right on board with wanting to help support that. But and some of that just makes sense across the board to get some of these projects done. The hurdles we face, a lot of y'all in this room, whether it's Clean Water Act issues, what have you, for permitting, and that goes for your nuclear facilities, your LNG facilities, or to build a pipeline. So they're all similar when you're building out this baseload power. So we're all moving in that direction. And so whether that is a permitting reform package that is inclusive of those levers to achieve that, that's what we're supporting here in the administration. And then secondly, as I mentioned, we want everything to be durable that we have achieved thus far.
I see. And let me just stay with you for just a minute. So you all help also prioritize projects that can go forward too. Is there any insights that you can shed that within the pipeline there may be some policies that can be moved? You'd mentioned, of course, permitting reform, but is there anything any of the other agencies might be able to do to help you move some of those projects out?
I was like, in the pipeline, no pun intended. Well, anything aligned with those priorities, of course, you'll continue to see a lot of what we had already started working, but the nuclear, the coal projects, anything oil and gas. So yes, the LNG facilities and what permitting hurdles you have there and what is necessary for project expansions, and then building out pipeline infrastructure, of course, natural gas, and then crude oil pipelines, as you're seeing, getting those flows north to south and elsewhere to power data centers and just really strengthen the grid. You're going to continue to see those projects prioritized. And then from there, we're in a really good place now of knowing where the hurdles are, because thankfully, private sector, we've had a really great back and forth of conversation to where they know, please come tell us when you have a hang up, and if you don't tell us right away, like my boss is going to call me, we're going to hear about it, but we're in a really good communicative pattern of just being able to identify permit hurdles right away. And so until there's a different mechanism in place, we have a pretty good structure of working within the agencies to get those addressed ASAP. Because once again, that is President Trump providing investment certainty to this baseload power.
Andy, let me turn to you. I saw you talking to Senator Coons in the green room. This is sort of right up your alley, if you will, on this Dominance Act. Can you talk to us about the importance of that act and any other policy changes that you might want to see from Congress?
Well, look, I would say the most important thing that I hope the people in this room leave with is stop politicizing energy.
So one of the challenges that we face is that you've got, and I was at DFC, Biden administration came in, gas projects were canceled. Trump administration came in, solar projects were canceled. Creates a total lack of predictability for the market. And if you talk to anybody, which is most of the people in this room, about energy, you could care less about the politics of it. You're open to pretty much all technologies. That's what we need to truly be dominant. That's really important. You have to take an all of the above technology approach because people care about a couple of things. They care about availability, reliability, affordability, and security. That's all we should care about. And that should be bipartisan across administration. Senator Coons gets that, others get that. And I just wish that every administration would get that because then that really puts us in a position to be energy dominant across the world.
No, thank you. Anatol.
To build on Andy's comments again, while I completely agree with you, I will add that there is a right way to conduct business and a wrong way to conduct business. Yesterday over dinner, we were discussing the start of Marcellus in those early days in the late aughts. And my point was when you went to Pennsylvania, southwest Pennsylvania in that era, with a naked eye, you could tell the companies that came from Texas and Oklahoma and the companies that came from the Rockies with the experience and the diligence of developing resource. And eventually the Texas and Oklahoma guys learned how to do it correctly, how to properly dispose water, how to invest in roads and schools and support industry. We need level-headed regulation, the kind of regulation that staff provides with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission to our industry, and that needs to be part of the dialogue. That is something that Brittany already mentioned. I think this administration is doing a great job with durability of these policies and systems, something that will help us operate for the 50-plus years that our assets can operate for. And again, already mentioned by Brittany, if you simplify what the U.S. has done on the gas side, when we started down this road of exports, since that point in, call it 2012, U.S. gas production has increased roughly 50%. That 50% is roughly evenly split between LNG exports and power, and that almost entire 50% you can attribute to the growth of the Marcellus. Well, I think it's going to be a very long time, hopefully in my lifetime, before another interstate pipeline is built out of the Marcellus. The experiences have been atrocious. I can't imagine a management team bringing to its board a $5 billion gas pipeline project out of the Marcellus for a long, long time, now that MVP was done, whatever, over 9 years. In Texas, intrastate pipes for 2 billion cubic feet a day are built in 18 months, and there's about 10 billion cubic feet of intrastate Texas capacity. But the number one company that develops those pipelines will not touch an interstate pipeline. We have to fix that, and we have to avail the country of that much more attractive resource that comes out of the Northeast, because without that, the Marcellus will not produce more than 35, 36 BCF a day, and it's a shame.
Roger, you've been in the policy space. I'm sure you get many questions from GE about how can we solve this and that. Tell us about briefly. We're a little close out of town. And then, Tim, I'll have you have the final word.
I'll be super fast because I know we're on time. We think of accelerators and decelerators. I think a lot of times people just focus on the things that are broken. We like to focus on the things that can move us faster. We talked about trade policy. The trade policy has been working on driving not only orders for equipment, but that's led to more investments in our supply chain, $1.3 billion here, 1,800 jobs, and serving strategic relationships. I think XM and DFC have been off to a super strong start in being accelerators as well. I think on the decelerators, of course, permitting, we'd love to see that fixed. Supply chain, I think, again, the world is looking to reinvent the supply chains over the next couple years. We think that is a huge priority, something to solve for the long term. And workforce development, how do we create the workforce of the future? A lot of trades and vocations, pipe fitters, welders, and things like that, and get them excited. So those are all solvable. They're hard, but they're solvable, and those are the policies that we're trying to work on, both the positive and the fixing side.
Tim, the last word.
I'm not sure I like the last word, but I'll do my best. I guess one thing I'll say, the race of AI, and there really is a race primarily between ourselves and China, really isn't a race just to come up with the best software or the best programs. It is really the race of energy. And the reason it's the race of energy is required to power all these data centers. I guarantee you the data that's coming out of China is that they are growing their energy in all forms, coal, every sector, nuclear, as fast as they can. So all the things are being said here and I agree with all of them, in terms of permitting reform, building pipelines, quite frankly, doing things faster, is really, really critical if we're going to win the AI race. It's not just coming up with better programming, it's really coming up with more affordable and available energy.
Well, we'll have to end it there. Please join me in thanking our panelists.